Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of the Country Music Armadillo Show. Our guest this week, I had to nail his ass to the floor to get him to stand still long enough. This man gets all over the country. Mr. Dallas Moore is our guest. Dallas, thanks for taking the time to join us.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm great. We're live in Indianapolis. Dallas is playing the show. He's taking a break right now and sat down and decided to talk with us. Big thanks for that. Dallas, you got a new album, just came out last week, live at the Bullitt County Jail. You can get it on your website. It's a great album. So let's start off talking about that. How did you come about recording an album in a jailhouse?
Well, I had a very good friend named Jennifer Stepp. They call her Punkin, and she works and volunteers at Bullitt County Jail in Shepherdsville, Kentucky. And this all started last year. She contacted me and asked me actually to if I would be interested in coming to teach like a songwriting seminar there, which I've done at a couple of different universities and songwriting festivals across the country. And she knew about that, and she thought they was trying to find a way to kind of rehabilitate, some of the inmates, and was kind of that was their idea originally. And I think we were out on tour out in California when we got the message. I remember my wife had got the phone call on the same day. I got requested to come play at a jail and at somebody's preschool for their daughter's preschool thing. And I said, oh, well, I guess we're hitting on all bases here, And so anyways, we switched over driving, and I was driving through the night out there in the desert. We was up around Joshua Tree, California. And I had time to think while everybody was sleeping. And by the time my wife woke up, I said, I'll call her back and tell her I'll do that jailhouse thing, but I don't want to teach a seminar. I said, I'll do it if they'll let me come in and sing all the songs I wrote, and we record it for a live acoustic album. We'd had a lot of people wanting us to make an acoustic record. It was just real stripped down, just me and a guitar and Lucky Chucky joining in too, and just my lyrics and some light accompaniment. And we had never found the right venue to do it in, and I thought, well, why the hell not? Let's do it in a jail,
Yeah,
so it was on and off again several times. That's why we didn't say anything for a long time until we didn't actually make the announcement that we were going to do it until about 4 days before we went in, because we finally got clearance. The warden had actually made a press release, and I thought, well, I guess it's on now, because up until that time it was on and it was off, and there were so many obstacles, and we had to pass background checks. I'm still not sure how we pulled that off, but what we did, we went in on May 23rd of this year to the Bullitt County Jail. It's in Shepherdsville, Kentucky, just south of Louisville. And we were locked in a very small room because in this jail there's no cafeteria. Like when Cash did both of his prison recordings, they were both done in a large cafeteria. That was the only place they had that's big enough for it. Well, in this county jail, it's a bit overcrowded, and there's no... the conditions are worse than in prison on a lot of instances. There's no cafeteria to do it. You're locked in your cell 24/7 except for 30 minutes a week. If you get a visitor, if you don't get a visitor, you're in your cell with a few other fellows, and you're stuck in there. You don't get out, and there's no exercise yard or nothing. A lot of people will actually plead to a worse charge to get out of this jail to go to prison, because that's another thing. In this county jail, a year is 365 days. In state prison, it's only 9 months. So the conditions are pretty rough, and so they were trying to figure. That was one of the obstacles. They were trying to figure out, well, how are we going to do this? How we're going to make this happen. We ended up finding a small, what they called a classroom, and it was for some of the rehabilitation, where they had held some courses and stuff in there from like the drug rehabilitation. I think that's what it was. But it was a pretty small room, and they had us and our recording equipment, and about 100 inmates, and the warden and the captain and 2 guards, and we were locked in the room, and we just played our songs. We played 13 songs that I wrote, and we got the pre-order going on for it right now at dallasmore.com, and then the album is actually going to be released worldwide on October 4th, which is a Tuesday. But if you get the pre-order, take advantage of that. That's going to go until September 20th, and everything starts shipping out next week. And with the pre-order, for $15, you get an exclusive. Well, you get, of course, the CD, but you get an exclusive to the pre-order beer koozie, guaranteed to make your beer colder than a well digger's ankles in Cut Bank, Montana. but it's a custom design for only the pre-order people only. It'll be different than any koozie that'll come out after that's done. And a sticker, and then also we're offering free shipping, and each one will be personally autographed and numbered.
Okay.
So that'll be pretty nice, and that's all for $15. And then it'll be cheaper, and you'll get it a few weeks before the October 4th day.
Damn good deal. You can't beat that.
So we've got a pretty good pre-order going on this one, and it's really going well. So far, we've already more than tripled our record pre-order that we've ever done for any of my other CDs. So I'm real excited about it. And then we'll just continue our touring like we've done. I'm booked all the way up into summer of next year right now. When I play New Year's Eve this year, if we don't lose any gigs, I will come in around 324 nights, which is just shy of last year's 329. I took a couple more Mondays off this year than I did last year, so I had to watch wrestling.
you are the road dog of everybody. I mean, I see guys that are out on the road a lot, but you've got them put to bed easily. I mean, how does that wear on you?
Oh, well, it don't. You know, my dad always said my dad was the hardest working man I ever knew, and he always told me you got to make hay when the sun's shining and double up when it rains. So we've had a few rainy days and a few sunny days, so I'm doing it while I can, you know. And plus there's nothing else that I would rather do. You know, I love making music, and I play for everything from a very small crowd to very large crowds. We just came off a great run. It was a solo acoustic run in Texas. For 2 weeks, and we sold out most of the shows on that, and a lot of that was very intimate venues, anywhere from 150 to 500 seat venues, and we sold them all out, and just had great crowds, and it was a really fun tour. And then we went and met my band Labor Day weekend in Alabama and Florida, and played to really big crowds, and we sold those out too. And so it was Labor Day. It was a great way to round out the summer with some really big crowds. But I really love playing music, and I'm constantly writing new music, and that's why I keep making records. Like I keep getting it out. So as soon as this Jailhouse record comes out in early spring next year, we'll have another full length. I've got about 14 songs newly written now for our next full length album with the Dallas Moore Band, and it's all original stuff. And I've just been on a tear, writing and traveling and singing my songs.
Well, it's like Billy Gant and I were talking last week about you.
Billy's my man. He's the king.
If there's room for the band to stand there, you guys are going to play there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So we talked about Billy, and he had just nothing but great things to say about you.
Oh, and back at him. Billy Gant was my first true honky-tonk hero. I got my first guitar when I was 16 years old, and learned three or four chords. And I'd already started writing my own. I wrote my first song the second day I had my guitar. I learned G, C, and D, and started writing. It was a horrible song, but it was my first one, And it was called "She Had Wild Eyes" and she was crazy. So they really haven't changed that much in the subject matter. I just got better at my craft. But anyways, we were just learning. Me and Bronson Burns, who was my best friend in high school and the original drummer of my band. That was our band when we first started. We didn't know what a bass player was, let alone you were supposed to have one or an extra guitar. We was ahead of our time. There's a lot of people out there now with drums and a guitar, and that's what we were. But we probably sounded like a punk rock band, but we thought we sounded like the Hag, But we would be sneaking in to see Billy Gant. He was the house band at a place called Doty's in Norwood, Ohio, which was the town that we lived in. And we weren't supposed to be in there. And Billy never made us not feel welcome. He let us sit on the side of the stage and watch him, and he even let us sit in and encourage us. And always had encouraging words all throughout my career. And I'll never forget the first time I seen him. The place was packed on it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. I remember it being a school night. And it was like Tuesday or Wednesday, and this place was just packed. And there's Billy dressed head to toe in black leather, and the place, like so many of the honky tonks back then, had a big, like a bunkhouse style railing going all the way around it. And here Billy is doing a headstand up on it, and he did a shot of whiskey or whatever he was drinking, upside down. He drank it while standing on his head, did a backflip off the thing into the crowd, and continued singing. And he had every woman and every man in that place just eating out of his hand. And I said, I want to be that guy when I grow up. And I still never made it to that, but he's sure been a big influence on me.
Absolutely. He's one of my favorites out there, just a great guy. And it's funny because, we heard his side of the story last week with you guys coming up and sitting on the side of the stage. Now hearing your story this week, that's
true, man.
That's good stuff. So
it was like seeing a white guy singing country music dressed in leather that was a better entertainer than James Brown. It was like we thought we were in the Astrodome or on Mars or something like that. We were 16 years old and just learning, and we learned from the best right off the bat. It's like that was the first people we seen, Billy Gantt and the Vigilante. Never forget it.
When Billy gets that fire going, by God, he electrifies the crowd like few people I know.
It's true. He's still to this day. He's the best. He's the showman, and
Absolutely.
He's the cream of the crop as far as an entertainer goes, and he's a world-class songwriter. I got my hat, and the only people I've had sign my hat is my songwriting heroes. And I got Billy Gantt right there, along with Ray Wally Hubbard and Billy Joe Shaver and Dean Dillon and Billy Don Burns. And I just had Chris Wall sign it down in Austin. Chris Wall came to my show in Austin, Texas last Tuesday night and sat in the front row for the first hour and a half till he'd had all he could take. I think he had a hot date he had to get to, but he's a great guy. And I met Chris on the first time I played Lukenbach. I had my first show headlining Lukenbach this last go-around, and I was the host for a Last Talk Music Series event, and with myself and Kyle Wilson and Donna Slater. But 3 years ago was the first time I ever got to actually play on a bona fide show and get paid well and do it. And I was on the bill with Chris Wall and Pauline Reese and Kyle Wilson, and that's where I met Chris. Of course, down in Texas, he's one of the many Texas songwriters. It's just a super legend, and they call him the Cowboy Poet. And he wrote so many songs for Jerry Jeff Walker, and then of course Trashy Women. And that story I told about him was word for word the way he told the story in Lukenbach. And but Billy was one of the first people to sign this hat. I think Billy Joe Shaver was first, and then Ray Wally Hubbard second, and then Dean Dillon. And then we were playing in Texas this year at a festival with me and Billy Gantt and Billy Don Burns. I got both of them on the same day. So it was a good day for that.
I got a picture of Billy Don Burns and Billy Gantt at David and Tina Fletcher's. They were sitting out on the woodpile. Billy Gantt was singing Billy Don Burns the Hardin County Jail song he had written about it.
Yeah.
And I was standing there and I'm looking out on the back porch, and I told my wife, I'm like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was too afraid to go back there and listen to him sing the song. but after he finished up, I went back there and got a picture, and I had Billy Don Burns sign it. I had Billy Gantt sign it last week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, one of my prized possessions already hanging up on my wall. So you're a seasoned veteran of this independent outlaw scene, and right now it's blowing up more than it ever has before.
It's doing great. There's so many artists that are out there, and if you want to get out there and you want to work and you'll get out there and do it, it's there for you to do. These opportunities didn't used to really be there. It really used to be the way the entire original outlaw music movement came out of Nashville. You still had to have a major Nashville record label. Even if you bucked the system and did it, you had to have that or you were dead in the water. Now it's a completely different revolution on it, in that we are all totally independent artists. None of us have major label, record deals. Some guys don't even have any kind of record deal. But we're just putting our records out. I'm on a very small record label called Soul Records, which right now we only have a couple of acts on it, myself and Pure Grain, and we're getting ready to put out the new album on Craig Gertis out of Illinois. He's a great songwriter. But there's so many people out there who are just blowing it up. Guys like Cody Jinks are just going through the roof right now, and I love Cody and love his music. Him and Whitey Morgan are tearing up the roads, and they put in years and years and years of playing, every teeny tiny honky tonk in the world, and it's paying off. And they've stayed true to themselves and their music, and it's doing great for them. But there's so many, folks out there, bands and individual singer-songwriters all across the board. And what it's doing is making everybody do better, because you just keep raising the bar and stuff, because you can't come into this scene and suck. Or you just won't get very far if you do, because the next guy down the road, each guy you go to has one guy's got a next song better than the last one you just heard, and it's not a competition or anything. It's everybody expressing themselves and getting their music out. But the way I always look at it, it always encourages you to bring out your best. And it really is. Some people in the scene don't even know each other, but so it's not like everybody out here doing this is best friends. Although many of us are very good friends, but some folks don't even know each other. But it is like a system of peers, and like you hear, this guy do a song, and it's like you may have never even heard this cat before, and then he has a song that blows you away and makes you go and write another good song. It's inspiring, is what it is.
The competition, man. And there's such a demand for it right now, and you guys are filling it. And I'm sure for someone like you who's toiled in it for so long, 10, 15 years ago, everybody was buying the Nashville shit.
Oh, yeah.
And now they're rejecting that, and they're looking for stuff like you guys are providing. So it's got to feel like you weathered the storm more than everybody else. And
back in the 90s, I was offered 3 different, because back then, like I say, you had to have I was still putting out my own independent releases, and we were just selling at my shows and stuff. But at that time, we weren't really touring a lot, because there really wasn't a touring scene so much back then. You was still like in the last days of when you'd be a house band somewhere, and you'd go sit somewhere for anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months or longer, and you'd play 4, 5, 6 nights a week in one place, and then move on to the next one. And it was really more like that, whereas everything now is, I'm on the road over 300 nights a year, and it's all one-nighters. Once in a while you'll get 2 nights in the same place, and that's very rare, But everything has just changed so much since then. But back then, like I say, even though I would put out my own original music just on my own releases, we were still trying to get a national record deal, because that was how you had any success or really got out to the masses. There wasn't the internet, there wasn't Sirius XMs or anything like. There weren't podcasts like this. There was no way for independent guys to really get our stuff out, back then. And I turned down 3 major label record deals back then, because they were bad deals, and I'd seen a few different friends of mine. I won't mention any names, but I had a few very good friends of mine that were playing the same clubs I was at the time, that took the bad record deal, and all it did was bankrupt them and break up their bands, and I seen that happen to them, and I was offered the same crappy deal that they got offered, and I was like, you know what, for better or worse, I'm better to take my lumps and stay out here and stay me and do my thing, and just stay down here in the trenches, and then it opened up a few years ago to where we could really start touring, and then really satellite radio and the internet has just changed everything for us. It's opened up a whole world, because now people that are seeking this kind of music, and there are many people seeking this kind of music, they have access to get to it now.
Yep. And I think and
I thank you for doing this, buddy. Thank you for having me on.
This is fun for me. I think in 5 years you'll see even bigger changes, and I think in 10 years the landscape of music is going to be entirely different.
Oh yeah, it is. It's changing so rapidly, just as of now.
Absolutely, I think the big labels are going away.
Yeah.
I think it's trending towards things like this. Obviously the drawback to that is you're never going to fly around in a private jet.
No.
You're never going to have a 16-room mansion. But,
we got 253,000 miles on a van in 2.5 years.
That was more on stock in Goodyear. That's how many
the White Lightning Express. We just had it serviced today. Hey, Hoss, I'm gonna
Yeah,
have
let's
to wrap
let you
up
get
this.
back to it.
But I can come back if I take another break, or if not, I can at the end of the show, whatever we need. But
All
I
right.
sure think you have me on here. I've got to pick another. I just look at the clock and
get back up there with Chucky, and you guys get back to work. I don't want to keep you.
Thank you for having me here on the Country
problem.
Armadillo.
No problem.
Appreciate it.